These stories sound fake, but every single one of them happened. Ukrainian farmers towing tanks, soldiers shooting down missiles with machine guns, sports fans forming elite fighting units. It sounds like a war movie, but it's real life. From world records to battlefield miracles, here are 25 Ukrainian military facts so unbelievable you'd swear we made them up. Let's dive in. Number 1. A Ukrainian sniper made one of the longest confirmed kill shots in history. Ukraine's success against Russia has been nothing short of historic, so it only makes sense to start with a world record, a place in history, if you will. In 2023, a Ukrainian sniper pulled off the longest confirmed kill shot ever recorded, 3.8 kilometers. That's 12,467 feet, or over 42 football fields. It took the bullet a whole 9 seconds to reach its target. But that's not even the wildest part. The sniper behind this legendary shot wasn't some elite special forces operative. He was Vyacheslav Kowalski, a 58-year-old former businessman who joined the fight after Russia's invasion. He spent hours in freezing temperatures, calculating wind speed, humidity, and even the curvature of the earth before taking his shot. Kowalski's reaction? Let them sit at home and be afraid. Now that's a line straight out of an action movie. Number 2. Ukrainian farmers hijacked Russian tanks with tractors. It seems that everyone in Ukraine is a badass. Ex-businessmen firing historic sniper shots and farmers are stealing tanks with tractors? Yes, really. Videos flooded social media of Ukrainian farmers casually towing away abandoned Russian tanks and armored vehicles with their tractors. One clip even showed a man sprinting after his stolen tank while onlookers laughed. The tractor brigade became a symbol of Ukrainian resistance, proving that even civilians could humiliate one of the world's largest armies. But farmers weren't just meme-worthy warriors, they were essential to Ukraine's war effort. Agriculture makes up nearly half of Ukraine's exports, and despite bombings, landmines, and fuel shortages, they continue working. Many donate food to soldiers and refugees, while others took up arms themselves. As one farmer put it, we have a new type of army. It's a farmer's army. Number 3. Ukraine's territorial defense forces include grandmothers with homemade weapons. We can't talk about badass civilian warriors without mentioning Ukraine's incredible volunteers. When Russia invaded, ordinary citizens, grandmothers, DJs, construction workers rallied to defend their country with whatever they had on hand. And so grandmothers in Lviv prepared Molotov cocktails, while construction workers turned construction sites into factories for anti-tank barriers. DJs traded party supplies for firebombs, and software developers switched from coding to making camouflage nets. Across cities, people painted defiant slogans, welded obstacles, and manned makeshift checkpoints, proving that resistance doesn't require an army, it requires unity and a will to fight for what's right. Number 4. A Ukrainian IT army launched one of the biggest cyber warfare campaigns ever. Another unique army deserving recognition in the Russo-Ukrainian war is Ukraine's IT army. Formed as a response to Russia's invasion in 2022, this volunteer hacker army waged an unrelenting cyber war with participants from all over the world. Using powerful distributed denial of service or DDoS attacks, they essentially brought Russian infrastructure to its knees, a bold move in a country once notorious for its own cyber prowess. In 2024, Ukrainian cyber warriors claimed to have launched the biggest DDoS attack in history, crippling Russia's banking system. The impact? Over $1 billion in economic damage. At its peak, the IT army had hundreds of thousands of volunteers, but even as the war drags on, it's still going strong, driven by a committed group of passionate hackers. Their attacks are smart, disruptive, and perfectly timed, something Russia knows little about. Number 5. A Ukrainian pilot flew his jet at treetop level to evade Russian missiles. As brave as Ukraine's civilians are in the face of aggression, we can't overlook the sheer heroism of its troops, especially when they pull off jaw-dropping feats like something out of Top Gun. Take, for example, the incredible story of a Ukrainian pilot who flew his MiG-29 at treetop level to evade Russian missiles. In heart-stopping footage, the pilot can be seen skimming just above the ground, with trees nearly brushing against the wings, all while dodging deadly surface-to-air missiles. The sharp evasive maneuvers, combined with countermeasures like flares, kept him just out of reach of Russian firepower. This game of chicken with Russian missiles proved once again that Russia's air superiority was a thing of the past. Ukraine's air force turned the skies into its playground. Number 6. A Ukrainian soldier downed a cruise missile using just a machine gun. In another jaw-dropping movie-like stunt, a Ukrainian soldier took down a Russian cruise missile with nothing but a machine gun. Yep, you heard that right. This insane move went down on June 12, 2024, over the Kyiv region during a massive Russian airstrike. When the alarm went off, Serhiy, a former doctor-turned-soldier by the way, heard the call and spotted the missile coming straight for Kyiv, a city just 10 miles south of Kyiv. Without hesitation, he opened fire, and just like that, the missile veered off course and plummeted to the ground. It wasn't until Serhiy saw the debris that even he believed it was real. Talk about a doctor who knows how to handle a crash course in missile defense. Number 7. The Ghost of Keev fighter ace became a legend. We can't talk about legendary Ukrainian soldiers without mentioning the man, the myth, the legend himself, the Ghost of Keev, though as it turned out, he was more myth and legend than a single man. At the start of Russia's invasion, the story of a Ukrainian MiG-29 pilot downing 40 Russian jets spread like wildfire. The Ghost became a social media sensation, a hero giving Ukrainians hope. Even Ukraine's government's accounts fueled the legend, with reports wrongly naming Major Stepan Tarabalka as the ace. The truth? The Ghost of Keev was never real. He was a symbol, a morale-boosting myth created to embody Ukraine's fearless pilots. In reality, Russia lost fewer than 30 jets by that point, mostly to surface-to-air missiles. But while the Ghost may have been fiction, Ukraine's resistance in the skies is very real, and that's legendary. Number 8. A single Ukrainian Javelin missile team destroyed 7 Russian vehicles in 2 days. Here's another example of what can be done when you work together. In just 2 days, a single Ukrainian Javelin team from the 36th Marine Brigade took out 3 Russian tanks and 4 BMD-4 fighting vehicles in Kursk. That's 7 armored vehicles gone. Ukraine received over 10,000 Javelins in 3 years, and each and every one of those kept the Russian forces on edge. After all, the $200,000 missile can hit targets over 2 miles away with pinpoint accuracy, making it the perfect weapon in this high-tech war. The lesson? In modern warfare, it's not just about having the biggest army, it's about adaptability, precision, and making every shot count. Number 9. Ukraine used jet skis for military operations. Speaking of adaptability, Ukraine's special forces turned an unlikely tool into a weapon: jet skis. In daring amphibious raids, small teams would race across open water using high-speed, low-profile vehicles to evade detection. One October operation saw 10 Bratstvo battalion soldiers infiltrate Crimea, bypassing 4 Russian Raptor patrol boats, each crewed by 20 troops and armed with heavy machine guns and a 30mm cannon. Russia tried to do the same, but it paid the price. A Russian jet ski team moving along the Dnipro River was spotted and ambushed by Ukrainian FPV drones. Despite electronic warfare defenses, 2 Shuriken 10 drones struck, destroying the jet ski and its riders. With the Dnipro swarming with drones and mines, Russian forces eventually scaled back river operations, while Ukraine continues to outmaneuver them at every turn. Innovation wins wars. Number 10. Ukrainian soldiers trained with VR battlefield simulations. Innovation took training to the next level in Ukraine. With virtual reality, VR, soldiers would step into lifelike combat scenarios that sharpened their skills without ever firing a real shot. Picture this: soldiers don a VR headset and suddenly find themselves surrounded by the sights and sounds of incoming fire and explosions. They must react instantly, relying on their training and senses to identify threats. It's intense, immersive, and emotionally prepares them for the chaos of the battlefield. Tens of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers trained using these VR simulators, preparing for everything from drone attacks to missile threats. The technology allows soldiers to train on anti-aircraft systems, small arms, and even anti-tank weapons, helping them develop muscle memory without using live ammo. Now, this is one of the crazy facts on our list, but soon everyone will be doing it. As one developer put it, future training systems will be only in virtual space. Hopefully, future wars will do the same. Number 11. Ukraine used 3D printed weapons on the battlefield. Ukraine used the invasion to set yet another trend that might soon be the norm: 3D printed weapons. In a revolutionary move, Ukrainian workshops were recorded printing grenades, bombs, and even drone components to fuel the fight against Russia. And they were doing it in full force. In just 4 months, one group churned out as many as 30,000 3D printed bombs. Some of them cost as little as $3.85 to produce. A price tag unheard of in all things military. But the real game changer isn't just the cost and the speed. These 3D printed weapons are also lighter and easier to carry, giving the soldiers more mobility on the battlefield. The future of warfare is being printed as you watch this video, and it's one you can carry in your pocket. Number 12. Ukrainian forces used World War I-style trenches. The Ukrainian forces didn't just fight in the future. When the need arises, they travel back into the past. On the battlefields of Bakhmut, trench warfare, thought to be a relic of World War I, became a brutal necessity. Soldiers crouched in winding trenches knee-deep in mud, while artillery fire rained down like an unrelenting storm. The eerie silence between bombardments was only broken by the ever-present hum of drones above, watching, waiting. Ironically, it was modern technology that forced this old tactic back into relevance. With drones making every movement visible, defensive positions can be the only way to survive. And one thing's for sure, survival is timeless. Number 13. Ukraine used partisan warfare to ambush Russian forces in occupied territories. The last fact took us back to World War I, but now it's time for Ukraine to channel the guerrilla spirit of World War II. Just as Soviet partisans once waged a brutal insurgency against Nazi occupiers, modern Ukrainian partisans were making life hell for Russian forces behind enemy lines. Their strategy? Target collaborators and sabotage logistics. From February to November 2022 alone, at least 31 assassination attempts were documented, with car bombs, gunfire, and even poisoning eliminating pro-Russian officials. In Kherson and Zaporizhia, weapons caches and secret networks, prepared long before the invasion, help insurgents strike and disappear. Just like in World War II, occupiers may have held the land, but they could never hold the people. Number 14. Ukraine invaded Russia back. Ukraine showed that Russia had trouble holding land too, and not Ukraine's, but its own. The 2024 Kursk incursion was staggering, a 22-mile advance, over 100 settlements seized, and over 500 square miles occupied. More than 909 Russian soldiers were taken prisoner, bridges were demolished, and Ukrainian forces dug in. It was the first foreign occupation of Russian land since World War II, shaking the Kremlin's illusion of invulnerability to its core. But Kursk wasn't a one-off. As Russian troops struggled to push Ukraine out, another front erupted. Ukrainian soldiers slipped into Belgorod, engaging forces in direct combat. Moscow downplayed it, Kyiv stayed quiet, but reports trickled in of battles and drone strikes. Who knew Ukraine could go from defending to redecorating Russian territory like this? Number 15. Ukraine sank its own flagship to prevent Russia from seizing it. Russia did capture large swathes of Ukrainian territory and destroy lots of the country's equipment, but Ukraine chose not to add a prized flagship to the list. In 2022, with the Russian invasion advancing, Ukraine faced a monumental decision: allow Russia to capture its flagship, the Hetman Sahaidachny, or scuttle it to prevent it falling into enemy hands. The answer? Sink it. Ukrainian sailors blew up this frigate while it was docked for repairs in Mykolaiv, ensuring that it couldn't be used by the Russians. So this was no longer a ship, it was a symbol of Ukraine's resolve. Its sinking was an act of defiance that sent a clear message: Ukraine would not surrender its soul, not even in the face of overwhelming odds. Number 16. Ukraine built the world's largest plane. There's one monumental piece of equipment Ukraine wasn't able to save: the Antonov An-225 Maria. This colossal aircraft was capable of carrying 640 tons, with a wingspan as wide as a football field. At 275 feet long and weighing over 620,000 pounds, it could carry payloads up to 250 tons over distances of 2,500 miles. Only one An-225 was ever built, and it was a symbol of Ukraine's engineering prowess. So when the plane was destroyed in 2022, it wasn't just the loss of a plane, it was the loss of an icon, the largest plane ever built. But this certainly isn't the end. Ukraine's leaders have vowed to rebuild the An-225, and with the resolve that defines them, the plane will undoubtedly rise again, bigger and stronger than ever. Number 17. Ukraine created a Frankenstein tank from multiple Russian vehicles. From building record-holding planes to crafting tanks from scraps, Ukraine can do it all. When Russia came barreling in with its advanced T-90s and overwhelming tank forces, Ukraine wasn't backing down. Instead, it got creative. Enter the Frankenstein tank, a mashup of salvaged parts from destroyed Russian machines welded together into a working hybrid war machine. The turret is protected with dynamic armor salvaged from a T-90M, one of Russia's most advanced tanks, and the gun mantlet appears to include T-90M components as well. Meanwhile, the hull has been reinforced with additional armor and side screens resembling those found on the T-80 BVM. Ukrainian engineers took what they could salvage and turned it into a beast of their own. And with Russia losing almost 4,000 tanks in a little over 3 years, Ukraine might have plenty more parts to work with. Number 18. Ukraine repaired and used captured Russian tanks against Russia. Not all of the Russian tanks lost in battle were completely destroyed, with only parts of them surviving. At least 384 were abandoned, and 533 were captured, but don't worry, they surely didn't go to waste. You see, Ukraine quickly put some of those captured tanks to use. The 3rd Tank Brigade's repair depot turned damaged T-72s and T-80s into fully functional machines by scavenging parts from other Russian vehicles. They swapped out engines, undercarriages, and even utilized 3D printing for parts that couldn't be found. Talk about flipping the script. Number 19. Ukraine developed the Neptune missile that sank the Mosva. Make no mistake, Ukraine didn't just rely on second-hand Russian gear or foreign aid. No, Ukraine was the one to develop the Neptune missile, which famously sank Russia's Black Sea Fleet flagship, the Mosva. The original Neptune, the subsonic cruise missile that took down the Mosva, weighs roughly 1,900 pounds and measures 16.57 feet. It can target ships up to 9,920 tons, with an effective range of over 124 miles. But Ukraine wasn't done there. It also developed the Long Neptune, an enhanced version with a 621-mile range, enabling strikes deep into Russian territory. The question is, which prized Russian possessions will this monster claim? Number 20. Ukraine composed songs about Bayraktar drones. Ukraine is serious about its weapons, the ones it makes and the ones that prove their worth. That's why the Turkish Bayraktar drones received a hero's welcome in the country. With these drones soaring high above Russian forces and wrecking them in the process, Ukrainians couldn't resist turning their admiration into music. The viral Bayraktar song quickly became an anthem of resistance, full of catchy beats and bold lyrics mocking Russian troops. And it didn't stop there. From rap to punk to folk, the song's covers and remixes followed suit, flooding the airwaves. Talk about making a soundtrack for resistance. Number 21. Ukraine used civilian drones for reconnaissance and attacks. Some Ukrainian drones are unsung heroes, though they deserve all the praise. Commercial drones, modified for military purposes, prove highly effective for Ukraine. The country used them to scout enemy positions, map minefields, and identify targets, all essential for intelligence gathering. Some were even adapted into kamikaze drones, delivering munitions right into the heart of Russian forces. Beyond combat, they assist in battle damage assessment and provide surveillance in rough terrain. With 2.2 million first-person view or FPV drones in use in 2024 alone, Ukraine transformed the humble civilian drone into a mighty weapon, making warfare more personal and dangerous for the enemy. Number 22. Ukraine turned pickup trucks into rocket launchers. Another civilian tool turned battle-ready hero in the Russo-Ukrainian war, pickup trucks. Ukrainian forces took regular Toyota pickups and, with a little ingenuity, transformed them into mobile rocket launchers. By mounting Grad rocket systems onto these civilian vehicles, they created unpredictable, lightning-fast artillery platforms capable of hitting hard and disappearing even faster. These weren't the only improvisations either. Military-spec Humvees were also equipped with launchers, giving Ukraine both rugged battlefield reliability and guerrilla-style versatility. These mobile systems are quick to deploy, adaptable to rough terrain, and ready to strike with brutal efficiency. Some carry multiple launch tubes, allowing for devastating salvos against enemy positions. Their targets: troop concentrations, supply depots, armored vehicles, and Russia's sense of control. Number 23. A regiment formed by sports fans became one of the most elite in the war. Ukraine has an extraordinary ability to turn seemingly ordinary things into military powerhouses, and that includes people. One of the most remarkable stories of the Russo-Ukrainian War is the formation of the Kraken Regiment, made up of gym rats, football ultras, bouncers, and regular civilians, all united by a shared sense of patriotism. Despite their lack of formal military training, at least in the beginning, roughly 1,800 of these brave Ukrainians were molded into an elite fighting force, led by seasoned military personnel. This unconventional regiment quickly proved their mettle, becoming a symbol of resilience and toughness on the front lines. Their success was so notable that they even caught the attention of President Volodymyr Zelensky himself, who publicly recognized their invaluable contributions to Ukraine's defenses on multiple occasions. They may have started as fans and fitness enthusiasts, but they have become warriors in the truest sense of the word. Number 24. Women flooded the Ukrainian armed forces. When Ukraine was thrust into the fight for survival, the call to arms was answered by every corner of society, and that included an extraordinary surge of women. As the Russian invasion unfolded, women across the nation flooded the ranks, with more than 42,000 joining by March 2023 alone. From doctors to soldiers, they stood shoulder to shoulder with men, rewriting the rulebook on military service. Inna Derusova became the first woman posthumously honored as a hero of Ukraine after saving countless lives before falling in battle. Lyubov Plaksiuk shattered glass ceilings as the first woman to command an artillery division, and the list could go on and on. These brave women prove one thing: heroism knows no gender. Number 25. Thousands of foreign fighters joined Ukraine's side. Ukraine's fierce resistance didn't just ignite the passion of its own people, it sparked a global rallying cry. However, while nations sent billions in aid, sending troops was usually off the table, but that didn't stop thousands of foreign fighters from joining in voluntarily. Volunteers flooded into Ukraine from every corner of the globe, often drawn by a moral duty to defend freedom and justice. More than 20,000 initially signed up, but the number of those who have actually served varies between 1,000 and 3,000 depending on the source. These fighters hail from over 50 countries, including the US, UK, and post-Soviet states, with notable contingents from Belarus, Georgia, and even Chechnya. Whether veterans, anti-Russian ideologues, or those seeking redemption, these volunteers show the world the true meaning of unity in the face of tyranny. They are proof that when a country fights for freedom, the world stands with it. And there you have it. 25 jaw-dropping moments that prove Ukraine's fight for survival is nothing short of legendary. But which of these facts blew your mind the most? And if you could add another epic moment to the list, what would it be? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below.